and welcome everyone to the, well, it says April 30th, but I forgot to change the date. We are actually in May. I'd like to think that we're still in
what year is it?
April. Well, the joke around our office was that it was the 41st of Quarantober. Not sure.
Essentially, blurred day is every day.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
If you could mute yourself there, that would be great. So anyway, welcome to the chat. We're doing this every week until things settle down a bit, and hopefully maybe a little beyond that if people have lots that they want to talk through. The point here is to support the local business community here in Canada with topics in finance management and HR management to help us all through these tricky times. So each week we're going to have some guests with us, and we're going to talk through some of the news. So that's what we'll do. Here's our agenda. We'll talk through the updates in the latest news. We're going to focus on cash and cash flow planning today. And unlike previous sessions, it was really focused on lessons and ideas. We're actually going to get really practical today and open up the Entreflow cash planning tool, take you through that and answer your questions. So this is intended not just me and Helena and Colin talking, but really an interactive session. We'd love us all to come together and ask questions and support each other in this, and the experience is richer when we do ask those questions. So please, as we go, please type in your questions into the chat or into the Q&A feature in Zoom. And at the appropriate moment, we'll just pause and answer the question if it's in the flow, or when we get to a little break, then we'll circle back to it. At certain spots, we're going to open up the microphone, so if you have any questions, we can answer those live. So get those ready as you go. A special shout out and thank you to those of us who are joining on Facebook Live and on YouTube. We always get lots of people watching after these things, so thank you very much for making this part of your day. If you want to join live for the next one, please visit our website, entreflow.com, and there should be a convenient link right on the homepage where you can join in, get your question answered live the next time. So introductions, I am Ian Rogers. I'm the founder of Entreflow Consulting Group. And I've got a background in marketing, sales, business development, that sort of thing, mostly for technology companies. I had my own startup, which I grew and serviced lots of people. It was in the Uber of everything wave. And then I turned my attention to consulting after exiting that. Joining me today is Helena Patience, co-founder, my partner on this. And do you want to say hello, Helena? Introduce yourself.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Okay. So I'm a CMA CPA. I have a long history working as an analyst in HR and finance before joining Entreflow about 4 years ago. So I head up the implementation team and as well I'm the CEO for Entreflow. So delighted to be here to share some tips and tricks, especially on the cash flow side of things, which is obviously a near and dear topic to my heart as an accountant.
All right, and we're also pleased to have Colin Weston joining us on the call today, and very grateful for the support of Startup Vancouver and by extension Startup Canada in co-presenting these talks. Colin, can you introduce yourself, talk a little bit about Startup Vancouver and what you guys do. And I think you had an event as well that you wanted to introduce. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, we do. Thanks, Ian. So this is week 2 that we've had the pleasure of co-presenting Quaranteam chats with you at Entreflow here. Love what you're doing and really happy to support and continue to do that. Now we're doing this once a week, as you've told. We've ramped it down from Tuesdays and Thursdays to deliver nuggets of wisdom that you're going to do today on a weekly basis, which is amazing. And with Startup Vancouver, of those of you that don't know, Startup Vancouver is one of over 50 community chapters of Startup Canada, which is the voice of the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs across this great country of ours. And each chapter, including ours, we are here really as that connective tissue, that hub for all the entrepreneurs. So we are a volunteer-based group of entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs to connect you to all the resources, events, opportunities, and people, both locally, regionally, and nationally, to increase your chance of entrepreneurial success. That is what we do.
Wonderful.
And I have one little slide. Want me to throw that in here now?
Yeah. Jump on in, throw your slide up, please.
All right. Hang on a second here. Says, I cannot share while the other participant is sharing here. Technology is failing us here. You have to unshare for a sec.
Okay, I will do that.
Excellent.
All right, go ahead.
Perfect. All right, here we go. All right. So we spent the last month promoting, co-presenting, attending all different events just to see all the platforms that have been working, what level of engagement, and you guys have been awesome. You guys have done a great job of kind of figuring this out, being very entrepreneurial and very nimble as you go here. So out of that, we are now ready to roll out our first of several event platforms, and this will be a half-hour live show twice a week. In fact, this will be on Tuesdays, following up half an hour once we finished up here with Quarantine Chats. And as you can see there, what keeps you up at night? Entrepreneurship during challenging times. So this will be a half-hour short, sharp conversation with 4 different entrepreneurs every time. What's freaking them out? What's getting them excited? So it'll be this kind of live, unfiltered, unedited, this piece, just having conversations as we do. So I will have 2 co-hosts. You can see there, Miriam Mobini, who is awesome, will be co-hosting on Thursdays, and Reza V, as he likes to go by, will be co-hosting with that big smile of his on Tuesdays. So we will start to promote this in the next couple of days. So hopefully people will come and join us there. And also entrepreneurs that are on the line. I see we've got at least 15 people with us on Zoom. I'm sure lots more on Facebook Live, that if you want to be a guest to give your 4 to 5 minute take and some questions from our audience, reach out to us, please. I will put my email in the chat afterwards, and yeah, reach out to me there. So there you go. Thanks, guys. So really looking forward to learning about cash flow and your cash flow tool here today, Helena and Ian.
Thank you very much, Colin.
There we go.
All right, I'm going to share my screen again. And we should be back. Just share briefly about who Entreflow Consulting Group is before we carry on, so that you know that we know what we're talking about. We're a boutique firm. We're a team of 18 people. It's a mix of CPA accountants, MBAs, and HR people, marketing people, and we just really help small and growing businesses who are up to big things to crush those goals by putting in systems, by helping with analysis in terms of finance and CFO services, that kind of thing, or maybe they're going through a fundraising, or maybe they just need their taxes done. So we can do all that stuff. We can help with hiring and with recruitment or HR planning and HR manager kind of services, and a bit of marketing, which is really my background. So a bunch of the infrastructure for growth, as I like to say, for small and growing companies. All right, so let's get into the news. Okay, so the big news, this is actually from last week, but it's worth saying again, if you weren't aware, the CRA wage subsidy for business, the CEWS, which we're debating. Should that be called CEWS or CEWS? I'm not sure.
You can call it CEWS.
CEWS, all right. So the CEWS is open. You just have to go to your CRA My Business account, or your accountant can do this for you if you've got a rep-a-client arrangement worked out, and submit through there. You'll have to have your payroll numbers ready so that you can get your wage subsidy calculated from that. As of this point, it doesn't seem like they're asking for any further financial data, but there's a strongly worded statement on there that you really need to have good, solid records kept and not fiddled with any of the numbers to make this happen. So make sure that your books are up to date. Please ask your accountant, if you haven't already, to make sure that those numbers are there and up to date, and somebody else has had a look at them so that you can be confident that, that those are accurate. Okay, the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program, we talked a little bit about this last week and we were hoping for some more details. The update is there's no news. So we're still thinking that that'll be up in mid-May, so hopefully next week we might have some more news on that. Another no update is that the BDC co-lending program was finalized, and the banks are still working through this process. If you're applying through a bank, the commercial banks, they are able to do this, but as you know, it takes banks a little bit of time to onboard new programs like this. So if anybody has an update from this, if you're on the line, you've applied for a loan through the commercial bank to be backed up by the BDC co-lending program, if you wouldn't mind typing into the chat or putting up your hand to talk about that, that'll be helpful for everyone else. I'm not sure if this is news, but WD, which is for some reason the abbreviation for the Western Economic Diversification Canada. I'd call that WEDC, but anyway, we're going with WD. So they've announced the Regional Relief Fund. Again, there's some extra letters in there, not quite sure what they're about, but essentially this is for the Community Futures Program, which really supports businesses that are outside of commercial centers or that aren't, that need some economic diversification help, let's put it that way, are able to access a new tranche of funds. It's $1 billion, so it's a significant amount of money. I'd recommend that if you want to know if you qualify for this, go to the link that we've provided here. These links will all be available, by the way, in the slides that we post after the session. So you can click through there and contact your local Community Futures office, and they'll be able to tell you if there's funding available for you. News for this week from the government of British Columbia is that they're giving away $1,000 to, I shouldn't say giving away, they are providing $1,000 of support for BC residents who need it, who have experienced a loss of income as a result of COVID. And you'll know if you qualify for that, if you qualified for the federal subsidy, the CERB, Canada Emergency Response Benefit. So if you qualified for that, then you should qualify for the BC benefit, and it's a one-time payment of $1,000. The link is available there. Click through. It's apply online, takes 2 minutes, and the funds should arrive in your bank account pretty quickly.
Hey, Ian, could you qualify that, just backing up? So is that a one-time $1,000 for every time you apply for the $2,000, or is it just a one-time, one shot?
One time, one shot. Yeah, that's all you get. So, but we're grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so this is, again, reviewing an update from last week. A lot of people weren't aware. They thought that they didn't qualify for the CERB. But they've made some changes to how that's calculated, and so owners who rely on business income, so it doesn't have to be a salary income, that can calculate other things into that calculation, including expenses that they might have paid, etc. So go back, look again at the CERB if you're a business owner or self-employed individual and you thought you didn't qualify. Go ahead, look back at that. you might be able to benefit from that benefit. Okay, and I'm going to leave these other ones up on the screen because I don't want to spend too much time on these. These are just updates from last week. If you have questions about the Career Ready program, the MyTex program, or the Shopify Capital, then by all means, ask away. So I'm just going to pause here and just see if we have any questions on the line. Looks like we had a question from David about where my desk is. Is it on top of my condo? Yeah, it's on top of the condo. I'm sitting outside now. No, it's here. I'll move to the side. There you go. It's a picture of downtown Vancouver. So the photo is taken from our neighborhood. We're Cambion Broadway area in Vancouver. So it's taken not far from our house. Okay. Any questions about the funds or the programs available here? Let's get my thing up here. And Aislinn, we can have the microphones open if anyone wants to ask a question. Looks like we've got one person on, the Common. You have a question? Nope. Okay, I guess that was an accident.
We can type them in.
Okay, well, look, if you have questions about the programs, then type them into the chat, and we'll carry on going here. Okay. So, Helena, do you want to take it away on this one?
Yeah, can you just mute that?
Okay, and I'm going to do a quick sound test. Can you hear me? Turn your sound off on your computer. Oh, okay, cool. So your sound on your computer, please.
My sound is not on my computer.
Okay, cool. So a couple of things to think about as you know, we're prepping for eventually going back into normalcy of some kind. You know, we've got these loans that we're making use of, maybe some mortgage deferral payments, maybe some fee deferral payments for our credit cards or what have you. And we're going to talk about cash flow planning today, and I just thought to put it out there that we probably want to start thinking about when we're going to be setting that cash aside to make those payments. For the 40K loan, it's 10% of it is forgiven so long as it's paid back before December 2021, which probably at this point seems like a very long time away. However, that'll creep up quickly, the 18 months. We want to make sure that we've got that 30K set aside to pay that back so we can make use of that 10K. And as well, you know, there's probably many of you who have put some, you know, bigger business purchases on hold over the COVID that you might need to consider spending, or, you know, once we get back into normal-ish land. And then for those of you who are given, you know, some sort of rent break in your locations, at some point that holiday is going to come to a close. So sorry, this is a bit of a doom and gloom topic here, but all this to say, as part of your cash flow planning, you want to think about any of the usual expenses, but as well any other additional expenses that you might need to think about, and which one while you're transitioning back into kind of day-to-day life. One thing you might want to consider too, just from a team perspective, you know, if you do have a team, you have employees, I'm sure this has probably not been a super easy thing for them. Might be a good time to think about some kind of, you know, small event, team get together, an offsite, maybe some presents or what have you, just to, you know, surprise and delight them when we do get back to normal day-to-day activities. And I think I mentioned this before too, but you know, probably we want to expect some vacation chaos once we're able to fly and travel around again as well. So there's probably going to be a lot of people wanting to take a break if they're not able to, or if they're not really all that excited about staycations right now, which would probably be the last thing on my mind right now. But just to kind of prep for that too, because for some people, When people go on vacations, it is actually a little bit more of a expense burden for them if they have to have people come in to cover while those people are away. So a couple of things to think about just when you're doing your cash flow planning, you know, the timing of these expenses coming up, obviously, and the amounts, and any additional things that you might not think about that will definitely affect your cash flow planning. So that's that. Those are my top tips for today. And then let's, I think, move on into our cash flow topic for today. Ian.
All right, I'm back on. Okay, so the tips here for cash flow, tips continued. Number one, have a short-term cash plan. Number two, have a long-term cash plan. Number three, communicate the plan. And number four, ask for help. So look, I just want to draw attention to the fact that the short-term plan and the long-term plan are very different animals. So with a lot of us are used to doing the kind of long-term plan that we might share with investors or a board of directors or a bank or what have you, which measures things over months and says, okay, over the next year, over the next 2 or 3 years, here's what I expect my cash position to be. And it's going to consider things like I'm going to add 2 or 3 people to the team at this time. I'm going to be spending X thousands of dollars on marketing. I'm going to have, maybe I'm a software company, so I'm going to count the number of users that I've got coming on that I expect, and that's really in the growth plan. So that's one thing. It measures over the period of months, but it's not super useful for, am I going to have enough money in my bank next week to make payroll? The long-term plan is much less granular. The short-term plan is really important when you're dealing with a cash crunch. Very, very important for that. It's also a good move to have, a good thing to have in mind when you're dealing in a crisis, where a lot of the decisions that you're making are on a really short-term time horizon, and you need to rock and roll pretty quickly. So the process for doing these things is a little bit different. So we're going to focus today on the short-term planning, and Entreflow's, we're going to share a cash flow planning tool that we produce that you can use to help out with that. The other points are about communicating the plan. So if you don't have a plan, it's hard to communicate to a vendor, say, oh, you know, I'm going to be able to pay your bill on X date. Well, if you don't have the plan, then you can't realistically commit to that. So it's important to be able to do that. And that's helped as well in how you relate to people. Relationships is really important.
I'm okay, I guess. I'm juggling.
Oh, hi, David. You got a question? Oh, no, he's okay. He was taking a call or something. All right. So, yeah, so a lot of what we're doing in crisis mode, or if we're pivoting the business, or if we're managing through a recession, is really about relationships. Relationships with employees, relationships with customers, relationships with suppliers. And those things are really predicated on the ability to communicate properly and to follow through on your commitments. It's hard to follow through on commitments and make commitments when things are uncertain. So the best thing to do is to try and come up with some kind of plan and then communicate out. Here's when I expect to make these payments. Here's when I expect to get cash in. And then be able to communicate around that according to that. And also ask for help according to that, saying, well, I'm not going to get the monies in by this time. Can you extend me by another week or 2? Normally, your vendor will be happy to do that because you've communicated and you've set your intention for what you're going to do. If you don't communicate, if you don't have a plan, you can't do that. So that's the preamble. Let's get into the tool. Okay, so the first thing to know is that we've made this available online. It's on our website. but we haven't done a formal launch of this thing yet. All we've done is set up a landing page so that people who have the link can go ahead and get it. So if you go to our homepage of our website, it's not there yet. There's no convenient link to go ahead and access this thing. We're working on that. We'll get it out there, but for now, here's the link. Again, this link will be shared with these slides and up on our resources page. Helene has been kind enough to put it into the chat. So if you go ahead and click on that, it'll take you to a page that looks like this, a simple little landing page, and then you have to put your name and email into the little form here, and click submit, and then what you're going to get is an email that looks like this with the link to access the sheet. So this is important because we're always making little tweaks and updates to this tool. So if you go and click on this link, you're going to get the freshest, most up-to-date copy of the tool for you to use. Okay. So feel free, please, by the way, guys, this is something that it's taken us years to build. We've been working on it for well over 2 years, and just iterating and building on it, refining it as we go, adding things to it, getting feedback from clients. We've been using it with some of our clients and internally as well for practice. So it's been in development for quite a long time. It's by no means perfect or ever will be complete, I'm sure. So first of all, we love your feedback on it. And second of all, we're just putting this out there for free for anyone to use because we know it's kind of a tough time for businesses right now. We'd so appreciate you sharing this around with other business owners that you know that might want to use it. Okay, so once you click through to that link, then it will take you to a page that looks like this. So it is a Google spreadsheet. It's a spreadsheet-based tool, and we've set up the link a special way so that it will make a copy of the master tool for yourself to use. So it's going to be saved to your own Google Drive. You can choose where it goes to. It's not going to be shared with anyone else. It's going to be your own copy based on the master tool. If you love working in Excel, you can then go ahead and download that as Excel, work in Excel if you want. That's totally fine. And if ever you want to get a fresh copy of the tool, just go back to that same link that you got, make a copy again, and you'll have the one with the latest updates. Okay, once you click this, it's going to take you through to a page. Oops. I have to get out of the slides here so I can show you what this looks like. All right. So can you just confirm that you're still seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. So this is what it's going to look like when you get in here. And I'm going to start with the fun part because that's going to show what we all want to see, which is how's my cash position going to look tomorrow, the next day, the next week. So I'll start over here on the summary tab. So this is where we've got some nice graphs that show how things are doing. So the next 30 days, a lot of the online banking portals have a graph that looks like this. So we've modeled it after those things, where it's showing you cash coming in blue and cash going out in red. And they're stacked on top of each other. So one column represents a single day. So you've got this much cash coming in, that much cash coming out. And then the line here is representing the closing cash balance. So you can see here that for most of the time, we're doing okay, but there's a couple of days here where we're dipping under, where we're going to need to shore things up in order that we're going to be in good shape for going ahead. That's a nice day-by-day summary. There's an equivalent week-by-week summary, which shows the same thing. So it's cash going out and cash coming in, and then the closing balance. But you'll notice with this less fine grain of detail, you're not seeing the picture where we're sort of dipping underneath. So this is, again, I'll return to the point of how fine grained you need to be We're not dealing in the order of months, we're dealing on the order of weeks and days, and that's where we see the picture where, whoops, this might be a problem. We're going to have to need to deal with that and come up with a plan. Okay. Next thing over here is a little summary. If you like seeing the numbers versus just the graphs, then this is what it'll show you. Starts with the current cash, cash coming in, cash going out, and what's the closing balance. And then there's a little element here called risk, which I'll get into in just a minute. But that's where you go ahead and you flag certain payments that are coming in as, I'm not quite sure if this is going to come in on this day. I'm feeling a little iffy about this. And you can sort of flag that for yourself and then just say, well, what's my worst case? If none of those payments come in from my client, say, then what's the worst case? And then it shows, okay, well, I'm at 10K. Or it might show, well, I'm in the negative here. And it'll do a little computation about, do you have credit available, line of credit or something to cover that, and give you a little warning. Okay. This next box is the same information represented just a different way. Is what AR is going to be collected, what recurring revenue you have, scheduled expenses, et cetera, and then shows you the same changing in cash and the same closing balance. It's just a different way to summarize the same kind of information in a different way. Okay, so that's what we're trying to get to, right? We're trying to see, where's my cash going to be? What are going to be the pinch points and problems? But to do that, you've got to do some homework. And so I'll take you through the step-by-step process of how you do short-term cash flow planning and how you do it specifically in this tool. So the tabs are conveniently labeled. This one says start here. All right. The first thing that you've got to do is put in the date. If you don't get the date right, then none of this is going to make sense. There's a convenient drop-down list. And it's a date picker, so you can just choose the date. I've already set it to today's date, so I'm just going to escape out of that one. And then the next thing is to sign into your online banking and find what your current bank balance is. Or you could do this if you've got a live feed into your QuickBooks or Xero or whatever accounting software that shows your current up-to-date bank balance. Then you can just grab it from there. But show me what you've actually got in the bank right now versus what might be in QuickBooks, but it's not fully, maybe things aren't fully pushed over, unless you're completely live and have everything accounted for up to the date. Then I recommend you just go on the actual bank balance. And then you can make some allowances or adjustments later for whatever else you want to see in there. Okay, so maybe you've got a few checking accounts and things, so you can list them all in here, and then it's going to calculate out your total cash that you have. You might also have a couple of Visa cards, and so this will come into that credit availability piece that we saw in the last tab. So put in what's the balance, put in what the limit is, and it should give you what the amount that's still available on that card is. Okay, so that's your basic thing that you have to put in there, so you know what the current state of your cash is, and your balances will be calculated accordingly from there. Okay, next thing to do is to go ahead and paste in a couple of reports. So the instructions that are provided here are based on QuickBooks Online, and I'm going to get around to doing ones for other accounting softwares. But the principle is the same. So the first thing that you want to do is just paste in a report of all your sales by customer. And this is just a convenient way of getting your list of customers in, and then you can go ahead and move on to the next one, which is your accounts receivable. So once again, try and get the AR aging summary as of today, and paste it in. So you can download this from QuickBooks and then open it up in Excel and just paste it over top of this sample one that I've got here. And it'll show you basically for each company, do you have an outstanding balance that they owe you? And you can see what is current and what's maybe overdue, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's step one. then you have to decide, well, they're not just going to magically all pay you tomorrow. So we need your judgment on this, right? To calculate this. When do you think that, Home Street Inc. is going to settle up their total balance of $13K? You as the business owner, the person who's dealing with the finances, might have a sense of what this person is going to do or how reliable they are on their payments. So that's where we need to make some calls, and that's where you come into the next tab, which is the cash in tab. So I've got some convenient instructions in here, which I'm just going to delete because I already know them. But when you go back to do this on your own, you can read through those as a refresher. So there's a couple of sections here. So the first thing is over on the left. This is just list of clients. And I've got some of those guys from the previous tab over here. Just paste it in or for reference. But let me just show you something quick here. If I type in Lint Inc., it's going to do a little lookup and show me how much accounts receivable that person has. So then I can just go, okay, well, that's how much they owe me. Now I'm going to make some decisions. It happens they're already in the list because that's how I set it up that way. But now this is where you can make a call. So I'm just going to delete that guy out of here. But let's say for Lint Inc., they owe us, $4,200 or so. And I just had a conversation with the CEO of Lint Inc., and he said, yeah, we're good for it. We're going to pay you tomorrow. So I'm just going to type in 4226 right in there. They're going to pay us tomorrow. For another guy, Home Street, I might have said, yeah, they're going to pay us sometime this week. For another customer, I might say, not really expecting that, Gilponics is going to pay us before the end of the month, and probably they're only going to pay us $5,000 out of that total balance, and maybe the rest of it will come in another month. So you can do whatever you want in here, put in whatever numbers. Basically, the accounts receivable number coming in from your accounting system is the information, and then this is your judgment call over here about when you expect these things to come in. So the columns hopefully are conveniently enough labeled. I'm getting this today. It's going to come tomorrow. It's going to come this week, next week, month end, or sometime in the hazy future. Okay, then the next thing that you've got to do is this risk rating. Okay, so that's this column down here. And this is where I'm going to say, you know what, these Gilponics people, I'm not feeling really good about them. I'm going to say that's a bit of a risk. Now, if I go back over to the summary tab, that's going to reflect on what's showing as a risk for me when it comes to these calculations. Okay, so that's dealing with your accounts receivable. Now, a lot of us have recurring revenue. Maybe it's software subscriptions, or maybe it's a retainer for services or something like that. We don't necessarily want to have an entry for every single customer and each of their monthly billings. You might have hundreds of those things. So what I prefer to do is summarize it by date. So I just say, okay, here's my monthly recurring revenues. I can pull a report on this. I can get it from my Stripe feed or charge fee or Recurly, whatever the tools that you use are for managing those things. Get a nice convenient report of those things. And then you can put in, hey, on the first of each month, this company that we're dealing with here, the Quaranteam company, gets $30,000 of revenue coming in on the first of each month. On the 5th, they get another 5,000. On the 10th, it's another 5,000. I can make these dates whatever I want. Some I don't even have to have any. I might just have all my recurring revenue comes in one date if that's how it works for me. But that's basically how you could set that up. You can also have annual recurring amounts. Some companies have annual subscribers, and so you can, same principle, just what amount goes in here, the month that you put it in, and then the date. So you can see it's, I've shown my underwear drawer. It's doing a little calculation for me here to tell me what's the next date that's going to appear. So it's going, oh, okay, April 1st. Well, that already happened this year, so it's going to be the next date is April 2021. So this, by the way, was really hard. Calculating recurring revenues and recurrences and dates that happen in a Excel or Google spreadsheets is really, really difficult. You don't want to do this on your own. Have fun with that. Okay, so that's cash in. And then if I pop back over to the summary tab, you can see that some adjustments have been happening as I marked some payments are going to come in. Now we can see we're out of the hole on this guy. So that's good. Okay. Next, we're going to have to deal with cash out. Unfortunately, we have to pay our bills, guys. All right. So the first thing to do to inform us who we owe is to pull a report from your QuickBooks or your accounting system. Paste that report in, same process, get it exported to Excel. They all have the ability to do that, and then copy paste over into this, overwriting whatever's here. Next thing is to then make a decision. Now you don't have to call anyone to know when this is going to actually happen. You can just make a determination. You can go over to this tab over here. Again, I'm just going to delete this guy. And then right here, this bottom section is just going to pull that data in that you just pasted in, and then you can make a call. You can say, you know what, I'm going to pay that bill tomorrow, and I'm going to pay the rest of that bill next week, okay? There are going to be some expenses that you expect coming up that maybe you don't have a bill in QuickBooks yet, or Xero, or whatever your software is. So you can just enter those as dummy invoices or expenses that are coming up that you haven't booked yet, just in this top section. And again, it's the same sort of thing. Yeah, I'm going to need a new laptop next week, or I've got a banner that I have to produce this week, etc. Just put those numbers in, and then those will update in the tab as well. Finally, we've got our scheduled expenses. So these are things which maybe you don't necessarily want to have to, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here, but basically these are recurring things. So they're going to come out every week, every 2 weeks, every month, every quarter, every year, whatever it is. You're going to want to tally those up. Great way to do this is to go into your accounting system, pull a report of all your expenses, filter them, sort them, see which ones are recurring, and then just write them down in here. If you're not that organized on your accounting, then you can do the same thing with, say, a company credit card statement, export a CSV, sort it, filter it, figure out what's a recurring thing, and then you can plot them in here. So we've got, payroll is going to be a big one for a lot of companies. So this is going to be often on a bi-weekly schedule. So you can use the little drop down to choose if it's bi-weekly this week or bi-weekly next week, whichever your cycle is, and the calculations will happen accordingly. I'll just change that. Maybe payroll tax is on the opposite week. I'm not sure, depends on you guys. And then you can select what are your annual or quarterly expenses. I'm not sure what CamCar is, but it's only $79, so what have you. And make sure you put the day of the month. If it's a monthly expense or a quarterly expense, for instance, put the day of the month. If it's a weekly expense, put the day of the week. It's important for these things to make sure that this is when it hits your bank, right? So if the payroll is on the Friday, but you have to run it on the Tuesday, and the money comes out of your bank on the Wednesday, well, just think about what day of that week is that the money is going to leave your bank, so that you know. Okay. You can put in some summary details about which card that's hitting or what kinds of things. It's just for your own reference point. But any changes I make over here are then going to be reflected back on the summary tab. Okie dokie. That is the Entreflow cash flow planning tool. You'll note that when you do make some bigger changes, there's this little gray bar that says loading things. So sometimes you have to wait for that if it's recalculating a lot of things. So be patient with that. It'll update when it's done. It's only Google Sheets. Okay, guys, so I'm going to stop there. I'll let other people talk and ask questions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Ian, I'll jump in here quick kind of wearing my other hat as an entrepreneur, I will say a lot of this, and I'm sure you guys both see this professionally all the time. There's a lot of denial that goes in with cash flow, a little bit of shame sprinkled on top of that too. I am not impervious to that. And if you don't look at it, it's kind of like you put it in the closet and close the door. It doesn't really exist, which is terrible, I realize, from a business perspective. But I'm guilty of that every once in a while, more than I care to lead on. So having a tool like this in real time, that especially with the graphics, being a visual guy, this is great. The fact it updates in real time, and you can import your data also from what I understood there with QuickBooks Online is great. So you don't have to start from zero on that too, because yeah, I'm your target customer here. I'm your persona right here in the box. So so yes, I will be giving this a test drive and kicking the tires over the next couple of weeks. So on a future edition of our Tuesday Finance version of Quarantine Chats, happy to provide an update. Not that I'm going to put my numbers out there, because right now everybody wants them to be a little better, but I can certainly talk to my learnings of playing around with your tool. So this is awesome. I love it. I'd love to hear the comments of other people on the line. So come on, people, chirp up. We want to hear what you think.
Cool, sounds good. We've got some questions coming in. So great for sharing. Cash flow is a bit messy. A checksum for cash in might be helpful in case there are typos. Thank you for the feedback. That's a really good idea. So we can sum up. Yeah, I see it. Okay. So that would be over here on this guy. Have just like a little summary maybe at the top or something showing you what your total cash in might be. That's a good idea. Thank you. One question is how do you suggest using the tool? How often updating it? I would say that probably either bi-weekly or weekly would be best. It kind of depends on your natural cycles for how you handle payables. If you're doing payables every week, it makes sense to update your cash plan before you do your payables. If you're bi-weekly, then maybe bi-weekly is okay. If things are really, really tight every day, it just depends on what you need. But this is a short-term tool, so it is probably something that you're going to want to look at quite often. Monthly would not be enough. Okay, suggestions on if you have multiple currencies, USD and Canadian dollars for both revenues and expenses. Yeah. So this tool is built on a one currency model, so it's the home currency for your bank account, essentially. So on some of the scheduled expenses, you'll see that I've got this this column here for billed and then CAD. So that's, maybe I should just put that in as a foreign currency number. So that's what I was doing when I was calculating, okay, what's my my rate for my harvest time tracking tool, for instance. That was 119, and then I calculated across, that's the Canadian dollar equivalent. So that's how I was doing it when I was working with US dollars. For cash in, that's, again, it's going to start with what you have for in Canadian dollars in your QuickBooks. So I just sort of try and do a little calculation there about what is owed to you in Canadian dollars. Okay.
Can I show the cash flow sheet?
Mm-hmm.
The cash flow frog.
Sure. Helena had prepared to show another cash flow tool, which is called Cash Flow Frog. So why don't you get that queued up, Helena, and I'll see if I can answer some of these questions as you go.
You need to stop on sharing, and then I can check.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. Helene's going to get queued up. I'll try and answer some more questions. When you convert from Google Docs to Excel, it seems like there are some glitches. Okay. I'm not aware. Sorry about that, Alicia. Maybe if you could ping me with what those issues are, then that would be great. I can see if I can get those fixed up. Okay, could you please comment on best practices for recognizing revenues as deferred versus earned income with annual contracts, and does the sheet include a feature for this? Yeah, so for annual, the best practices for annual contracts is if you're delivering service through the year, it's to recognize the revenue throughout the year. The sheet does not include a feature for this because that's a revenue recognition thing. So, and whereas this is dealing with cash. So the annual contract, if there's an annual payment, then you would put in the annual payment into the revenue or the cash in tab as ARR. And the revenue would be calculated separately, and you'd report that out of your QuickBooks. And then there was a question, which is sort of a detailed question, maybe we could follow this up, about a specific date for recurring expenses that have been paused. All that we can do for now for this is to just delete that expense, and then it won't show up. And then when you come around to thinking about starting it up again, is that enter that back in when you think that you're going to start paying it again. So there's no formula or fancy pause function for this. It's just to put it back in, maybe zero it out, and then when you come back and return to it, put in the actual amount that you're going to do again. Okay, that's I think all the time we have for questions on that. Take it away, Helena. Show us what a real commercial tool is like that you actually have to pay for.
Okay.
Great.
Great. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
Great.
So
We use a lot of different cash flow
forecasting tools at Ontraflow. We pick and choose different ones for our clients depending on what's going on for them. So Ian talked about short-term and long-term forecasting. The cash flow tool that we put together at Ontraflow, we started working on that 3 years ago now, because we couldn't find something that was really great on the market that could handle short-term cash flow forecasting. And you know, if it's not to the $100 and you can't see it on a weekly basis and you can't play around with at the transaction level, then it was really useless for a lot of our clients. So we put that together, and since then, a lot of new tools have come to the market. Which are great because they can integrate directly with your accounting software. So Cashflow Frog here integrates with QuickBooks Online. They're working on a Xero integration right now as well. There's a number of different ones that we use. We probably have 4 different ones we use with our clients on top of the Cashflow tool that Ian shared with you. And then for the long-term forecasting, we have a couple of applications that we use there. And that when you're talking long-term, you know, you're at a point where you've got a good amount of savings in the bank. You know, you're really looking at cash from a monthly perspective, and it's probably really tied closely to your P&L and your balance sheet forecasting as well. So you're doing your P&L forecasting, and that's flowing through to your cash flow on a monthly basis, and it's kind of a bigger picture. We're not playing around with transactions at that level. It's kind of a bigger picture view. So if you're at that level where you're looking for more of a monthly forecast, where are we kind of heading, reach out to us and we'll share some of those tools with you. Also, we're sharing the Ontraflow Cashflow tool with you today, and Cashflow Frog, but if you're looking for some other ones as well, if these ones don't work for you, part of it is just visually, like, is it getting you excited about cash flow forecasting? And if it's not, then, you know, find another tool that does. And also there's some nuances in how it will handle say line of credits, credit cards, credit availability, some AI. Some of these tools have AI in them that'll kind of work out the recurring transactions based on previous habits. That might work or might not work. So there's a number of different reasons why we'd use one over another. What's great about the one that Ian and I put together is that you have full control to actually play around with every little thing. It just means you have to do the work, or get your accountant to do the work if you want to pass that task over to them. So really quickly, because we're running out of time here, I just wanted to show you what one of these, you know, off-the-shelf products look like. This is Cashflow Frog. It runs at about, you know, $30 a month, something like that. It's pretty inexpensive. What it does, it connects into your QuickBooks, pulls in your data. So it'll pull in your AR, it'll pull in your AP for you. It has some logic to figure out what your recurring expenses look like. It'll pull in your bank balance from QuickBooks. Now, one snagu there is it's pulling your bank balance based on what's in QuickBooks as opposed to your true bank balance. That piece isn't open in the API. So that means you got to get your bookkeeping up to date. Otherwise, it's going to be off a little bit. And you can see here, it's got a lovely little graph, kind of like ours. If it goes into the negative, it turns pink, which is a little bit nicer than red, I always think. You can see a monthly view. You can see a weekly view. Oh, here we go. Sorry, get back in there. So they can't do the daily view, but you can see a weekly view and a monthly view. Okay. So oh, sorry, here's a daily view. You can. It shows you the summary of the balance, the total bank balances, the cash in, cash out, and the closing balance. Okay, and then you can also go to this other tab here to see balance, and it'll actually show you all the transactions that are made up for each of those days if you wanted to get into the nitty gritty, and you can actually change them here. If for some reason you got a discount on this for whatever reason, or you're offering a discount, so it's an invoice, you can go and actually just change that there, and won't necessarily, you know, affect your, it's not affecting your QuickBooks, but say you've been in conversations about maybe giving a discount, so you just can pop that in there quickly without having to go back into QuickBooks and change that there. There's the period you can select here, whatever range that you want to look at. Okay, and it gives you a nice little summary here. You can do a number of scenario analysis. So this is another reason why we might use a tool like this rather than ours, is it's really easy to build scenarios. So say you had, you're debating whether or not you should take the 75% subsidy. You could record a scenario to see how's your cash going to land if you take that subsidy. Say if you wanted to hire new people, say you wanted to potentially do a leasehold improvement or what have you, you can create a new scenario and actually see how cash would land based on those decisions that you make. You can also go here to add different projections. You can add in extra transactions, big expenses, what have you. So like I mentioned earlier today, you know, looking at, okay, maybe you want to pay off that 30K of that 40K loan over the next, 6 months, a certain amount each month, then you could build that in there. It's not necessarily sitting in your QuickBooks, but at least it's here flowing through on your cash flow forecast. Now, you can see here, as we've got the forecast section, I showed you there's a customer insights that shows you some information about your specific customers, and you can rank them and all that sort of fun stuff and see how they pay versus their ranking. It's kind of fun. And then as well, the nice thing is that you've got some reports in here. So you've got a cash outflow, which is looking backwards to see what happened. And then you've got your forecast looking forwards 5 weeks. And here is just a really quick and dirty report that shows you a summary of where you're at. And these can get automatically emailed to you so that you just get that automatically in your inbox. If you go and set it and forget it, you'll get those updates to see how things are tracking. Now you do need to still do the work and play around with it and check the logic and all that, like the AI is in there, but you do need to go and validate that the logic makes sense. But this is a nice kind of quick and dirty way to get in there and start cash flow planning right away, depending on how your brain works and your scenario and what you kind of need. So I think we're running really short on time here. So that's all I'm going to show you today. But again, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you want to know about some other tools as well, I love to get nerdy and appy with people, so just reach out. And yeah, I'll pass it. I think we should probably leave another minute here for some questions. So if anyone has any questions, we could please feel free to ask them now.
Use the presenter again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks very much, Helena. I'm going to share my screen again, because I've got the contact information for myself and Helena, which I'm going to put up on the screen as soon as Zoom controls get out of my way. All right, there we go. So if you have questions for us after the call that come up, then please feel free to send us an email. Here's our contact details here. Well, we can open up the lines if anyone has any questions further on the things that we discussed. Happy to hang out on this Zoom for a couple more minutes. So feel free to type those things in here. Looks like we got a chat. Cool tools. You guys are an unfair advantage to startups. Oh, thanks very much.
Aw.
I thought it was going to be a question. That's really great. Thank you so much. We appreciate it very much. And
Joel had a question now too, about 6 weeks instead of next week.
Okay. Yeah, allowing input for 6 weeks instead of next week. And okay, yeah, that's something that we can probably work on.
We've got the week by week on there though.
Yeah, we do. It's just the entry of expenses and cash in. So allowing for another couple columns in there, I think might be useful. So that's a helpful suggestion. Thank you. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, that's great. I'm sure as you start using the tool, you might have some more. Feel free to ping us. And I guess all that remains to be said is thank you to Colin for joining us and for supporting us. Thanks to all of you who took time out of your day to come and learn and share your questions and answers as well. We're doing our best to support a lot of businesses, as many as we can, through some uncertain times. So my ask for all of you is to please share. Follow us on LinkedIn. We're just Entreflow Consulting Group. You can find us very easily. Share out about these quarantine chats. We're trying to help as many people as we can. Share about the cash flow tool. We're going to be posting on our LinkedIn and Twitters and whatever you like to use. We'll try and post up as much as we can to share this out there. It's a free tool. We're just trying to put it out there so that people can use it, and hopefully it helps them. So my ask of you is if you could please just share that out there. That would be really great. And hopefully we can help a lot more people.
Awesome stuff.
Okay, well, that's it for today. Thanks very much, everyone, and enjoy your Tuesday and the rest of your week.
Sounds good.
Bye for now.